2021 came with expectations such as COVID-19 vaccines, economies were predicted to bounce back, swearing in of new leadership in US, and so on. In this episode of Let's Talk, which happened to be the last one for the year 2021, it is important we discuss the year in detail. I am Ulujoke Masako saying welcome to Let's Talk on DNTWOK, and thank you for watching it all through the year. We hope to have you join us in the coming year as we promise to bring you more exciting, educative, and informative topics. My journalist friend and colleague, Tunde Olaniran, he's here with me. But before we delve into the discussion proper, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so, and follow us on all of our social media platforms. So please stay with us. Thank you so much, Tunde, for coming on the show. It's indeed a great privilege to have you and to actually do this with you. I'm really excited.
Thank you, Joke. I'm actually excited to be here. The first time after a long time.
Yeah.
And, it's really amazing. Good job you are doing anyway.
Thank you. Okay, so what were your expectations at the start of 2021?
At the start of 2021, going back 2020, COVID-19 pandemic and all, the expectation was high. And like every other person, we expected that the economy will bounce back, activities will bounce back, and then that there will be breakthrough in the COVID-19 vaccines coming forth, and which it really happened in 2021. We had series of COVID-19 vaccines coming up that brought back activities. Sporting activities came back to life. We could sit down together one more time and all. Though the case is now not the same again as it was in the middle of 2021, but at least we expected, the expectation was high, really. The expectation was high, really. Haven't been battered by the effect of COVID-19 on the economy, on people's health, and the figures that we're seeing every day in 2020. We felt, okay, this year the figure would drop and then it has been an eventful year, really.
Okay, let's talk about the fear that gripped the world while waiting for Joe Biden, the United States president, to be sworn in, and the interruption of Senate proceedings on January 6th.
Capitol riot.
Yes.
Yeah, it was for me as a person, it was kind of strange in the sense that the world, the feeling of the world is that US is the quote unquote the capital of democracy in the world. But seeing that kind of situation is not like an external force is trying to attack the US. It's like an arm of government trying to attack another arm of government. And that is where it got interesting. I think it painted the country in not a so good light, though it was in the run-up to the presidential election that brought in the incumbent president. But I feel that it shows that US needs to do something about its internal democracy, do something about its it seems as if the country is dropping the ball, so to speak. When that happened, it did not portend the country in a very good light at all.
Okay, with this, going by what's just happened in Afghanistan, the swift takeover of the capital, and now we know what's going on right now. How would you explain this, knowing fully well too that even in Nigeria there is a problem of security?
let me start with Afghanistan before coming to Africa. The challenge with Afghanistan was, for me, the withdrawal of US troops, which my opinion is, it shouldn't have happened, um, all of a sudden. It should have been a gradual withdrawal and all, knowing the kind of people, the rebels and terrorists and how they work. I feel the US was kind of, maybe, I don't know, but maybe they didn't think it through so well before doing a sudden withdrawal, and now it's going to be very difficult for to regain such a stronghold of terrorism and activities around the world. Afghanistan is one of the strongest, um, strongholds, most, if not the taproot. Let me use that word, of terrorism in the world. So I feel that the withdrawal of US heightened the whole thing. When the troops were still in Afghanistan, it wasn't really obvious what was going on. It wasn't, Afghanistan was still, democracy was thriving, at least gaining ground in Afghanistan. All of a sudden, we just saw the troops were withdrawn and the terrorists took over. But let's see in coming days, maybe next year, what the new government, Joe Biden government, will do as touching that. But they've taken over the airports, taken over almost everywhere in Afghanistan. So, but let's talk about Africa a little bit. Africa, is kind of strange, especially Nigeria. Okay, let me say West Africa. The used to be Boko Haram, now is ISWAP, and it's really as though the nations are not equipped enough to fight this battle. And it's quite unfortunate that even the Western support is not coming forth, which is making making it look as though the terrorists group are gaining ground. And we need to the Western nation needs to give actions to their promises, back all their words with corresponding actions. That is not about us. It's not about us and them. It's about having a peaceful people, peaceful nation, and also I think that we need more support, especially in fighting terrorism, especially in the area of arms, especially in the area of intelligence, finding out who are the sponsors of these people, who are those um, behind them, who are those funding them. There's more to it that the intelligence, the expertise that we have in Nigeria or in Africa can contain. So we need the United Nations, the world powers needs to come behind these nations to fight terrorism in Africa.
The COVID 19, which is actually the song that everyone is singing, no part of the world is actually, would say, has not been affected. Now, the vaccine came about, there came a vaccine, and now we have a problem of people not believing in these vaccines. There are several misconceptions about it. What can you say about that?
The vaccine is meant to be a solution to the COVID-19 problem. But I think the first thing that happened is the fact that up till now, people still believe that COVID-19 is, okay, maybe some people still believe that COVID-19 is not really a virus. I read an article some time ago that some people, a scientist is saying that COVID-19 is, to him, a scientist, COVID-19 is to him a biological weapon. And let me just summarize his own mindset. Is that he said, as he has studied far back about viruses don't spread around the world. That they can be prevalent in temperate region, and when they get to tropical region, they have no little or no effect. But this kind of virus, that's COVID-19, according to him, took the whole continent, either temperate or tropical region, by storm, so to speak. So, and according to him, he said a typical virus don't variate as often as this one is the mutation is kind of too sporadic for a typical virus. So there are so many conflicting informations, so many conflicting reports, and that is making most people not to believe what it is. If it's a real virus, or if it's a biological weapon, or if it is maybe we don't really fully understand what this thing is all about. And I think that is what we just need to first of all address as a people, as a world system. What is this thing really is? Educate us on what it really is. Let's find out if it's a virus, really a real virus, or is a biological weapon by some people to quote and unquote reduce the world population. And talking about the vaccines, I think normal vaccine, the typical vaccine that we know, maybe polio vaccine and all, is meant to prevent the disease from coming up, prevent people from having that disease. But this one is kind of because of the variants that we're having from Alpha to Delta, now Omicron. It's not a promise. The vaccine is not a promise that one will not get infected, and that is where people are. For me, I'm a little bit skeptical. I've taken the vaccine. I've taken the vaccines, at least the 2 doses, but it's according to them, it will only reduce its effect when one is infected, and that is where a lot of people are now saying, okay, you asked us to take the vaccines, we've taken it, some of those 2 doses and all. Now, because of Omicron, and you are saying, okay, take another booster dose. Are we going to be taking vaccines every now and then? Can't we seek for a permanent vaccine that would stop this thing and get it all? But it's still early days yet. Omicron is here. And it's according to what we hear, it spreads fast. Though mortality had not been recorded in most countries, there have not been death at all. But the fact that there is a variation as quickly as that, we have had 2 variations in this year alone. We've had Delta, and now we have Omicron. That is one thing that calls for attention. That's one thing that calls for investigation. And I think, for me, I think if anyone that has not gotten vaccinated, if you want to, go ahead and do it.
Let's just quickly go on this break, and when we come back, we'll continue from there. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNTWOK, and I've been speaking with Tunde Olaniran. He is a journalist, and the topic has been 2021 in review. Now we're actually talking about the coronavirus before we went on that break, and now Tunde, before Delta came, Omicron now is the thing that is on the lip of every scientist, every human being. And like you said, it's a super spreader. It's actually spreading rapidly. Although they said it's not as serious as Delta, but it is also something that we need to pay attention to. Hence, the need to actually get your vaccines or the booster shot. Now, there is a divided world as we are in. We are actually coming out of not being able to socialize, and now that we're about to get out there, things are getting back, especially the economy, communal living, social activities are already picking up. There is the issue of trading and all of the sort. When there is a problem in the world, basically stocks normally gets down, and it's like things are picking up at the moment. But there is a problem. We also have a divided world, and what is fast becoming the norm is the vaccinated and unvaccinated, whereby you have to show your vaccination card before you enter into anywhere. Now, of course, the use of mask has been intensified, and restrictions everywhere is now tightened. Now, because of that, a group of people are angry. They're angry that why would UK ban Nigeria and some other countries, even though I don't think it's been established that there is Omicron, or maybe because basically when African countries are being affected as a result of this stuff. Now, how would you explain all of these scenarios?
I would like to start from the ban against some African countries. Now, the fact that Omicron was discovered in South Africa doesn't really mean that Africa is the genesis of COVID-19. And placing a ban on Africa is more of political than scientific. Why? Because most, if not all, of these first world countries have vaccinated almost 90%, if not more, of their citizens. And this is not the same story about Africa. And the reason basically is that most African countries have to, quote and unquote, beg for the vaccines from these countries. And it's just common sense that since you guys have not been vaccinated, why come to our country? And that is what they are trying to do. They're trying to just protect their people, protect their citizens from getting infected, because most African countries have not succeeded in the highest, as I know, I think it's South Africa, followed by Nigeria, and the percentage is less than 20%. So your guess is as good as mine. But be that as it may, the argument of showing is really a tough issue, especially here in Nigeria, and where government will say if you don't get vaccinated, you can't come to government offices, you can't access government facilities and all. And to some, they feel it's against their human rights. The government has, according to them, has no right to impose on them on what to do, what not to do. There's freedom of speech, there's freedom of association, and that freedom has be applied to either I take the vaccine or I don't. So it's a complicated thing, but I think that what needs to be done in this kind of regard is more of sensitization by not only the leaders of the countries, even by the world leaders, to help us know that this is how this thing is, and this is what should be done, and make the vaccines accessible to countries that don't have access to it. Most of these developed countries have companies that produce such things, companies that produce these vaccines. But most of the time in Africa, you have to wait on them to get. So if everybody is not vaccinated, nobody is safe. That's the summary of it all. I think that showing of proof of vaccination is just a way of trying to be civil and trying to, government trying to say, okay, we will help, we don't want to help ourselves. We don't want to have the kind of situation that we had back then. But basically, in countries where these things are highly prevalent, non-pharmaceutical non-pharmaceutical things should be done, especially maybe face mask and all. Though some people still don't believe in it, but it's better to be safe than to feel sorry.
Okay, in brief, let's talk about the tensions between U.S. and China and Russia's intentions toward Ukraine, climate change, refugees headed to Europe in Belarus, among other things that we have gone through in 2021.
Okay, let's start with the US-China tension. If you ask me, is it going to go away anytime soon? No, because they are like two elephants trying to, jostle for power. What are they fighting for? They are fighting for influence, fighting for economic control, basically fighting to become, one is fighting to retain its status as the world power. The other is trying to use, to overthrow, as the case may be, the other one. So I think it's not going to end anytime soon. Yeah, I used to think that it was maybe the policy of the Donald Trump administration that heightened the crisis. But I think now that it's more than that. I used to think that America's first policy of the former president was the reason why, but I think that it's just China trying to to announce their arrival in the world scene and trying to show that we are now not a third world, we are now a big threat. And according to their president, said East is rising, West is declining, and so it's more than that. And let's talk about Belarus and the refugees. I think the EU are just being selfish because it's just like a brother is in challenge, is in crisis. The same thing to do is to help out, not to shut down your borders and say no, we don't want. They are placing politics over the care for life, which is not good. Every nation, there's this asylum truce for every nation. When and your neighbor is in crisis, at least you can still just set up an IDP camp or so, a refugee camp to help out, not to shut down the borders against them. For me, that is selfish. That is placing politics above the life of people. And I think something needs to be done. Pressure needs to be put on the EU Commission to do something about it. Not only, it's interestingly, countries like Poland, Bulgaria, and all, it's, for me, is a no-no. They should allow people, they should allow at least some level of help to the people, the refugees from Belarus. And you talked about Russia's intention towards Ukraine. I don't know what Vladimir Putin is trying to do. According to reports, the intention is not clear yet what he's trying to do, but moving 170,000 troops.
The intention is high. It's really not something that I don't think is something good.
It's like going to war, literally, because
Yes.
he has activated everything that shows, every indices that shows that there's a war situation. And look at the capacity of Russia and the tiny, let me use what the truth is, even if there's a war situation, Ukraine stands no chance.
Then one more thing, climate change.
Some years ago in France, I think I was there. I covered. It was called tagged COP21, and all the countries of the world were told to sign a treaty that we will do everything to curb climate change and all. Most countries signed, but not all. Now, it's not even about the signing of the documents that matters, but the action after the signing of those documents. Now, the truth of the matter is that we have brought upon ourselves a little problem, a big problem by trying to industrialize. But now going forward, what should every country do? Now, while some are bent on saying we are going to follow through with this agreement, others are saying we are not. Now, it's not going to only to affect your country; it's going to affect the entire globe. So I think that at this point in time is when we all need to, if we are going to keep our planet, if we are going to make this planet livable for generations yet unborn, this is the time to take, the climate change issues seriously. It's not only affecting the temperate countries; it's even affecting even the tropical nations, because there is the issue of desertification going on around here, and people are, and if care is not taken, um, God forbid, famine might come into play. So we need to take every country, every continent, every leader, world leader need to take this climate change seriously.
So finally, were your expectations met in 2021?
To some extent, okay. When it comes to congregation, after days, after a year, a month of lockdown, I think my expectation was met in that regard. When it comes to revamp of the economy, I would say not totally met, because I expected a rapid growth in the economy in the revamp of the economy of most countries, but even stocks that went down during the lockdown is still, let me use the word, crawling back up. So the revamp was not too rapid, and the issue of crisis all around the place. I think Afghanistan. I didn't expect all of that. I expected that the country would get stronger after they have had an election, and I didn't expect that there would be a takeover. And for me personally, um, looking at the world scene, my expectations were not met. Maybe
Okay.
over 100. Let me say 20%.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's wonderful having you, and it's wonderful having the discussion with you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. And to you out there, thank you so much for, like I said earlier, for watching Let's Talk in 2021. And I wish you a Merry Christmas. Until we say in the new year, please be safe and always be safe. Bye.